Hey y'all, it's Sarah. So welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, welcome to my channel. So to kick back off my YouTube channel, we're going to have a Let's Talk video, and I'm super excited about this, but it is also going to be a little bit of a heavier video. If you all didn't know that April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and as I have kind of been pondering back and forth on what to do for the first official video back, I had some ideas. The heaviness of it was just not leaving me to do, I guess, if that makes sense. So the title of the video is going to be called Normalize Consent. And I just want to start off with a trigger warning, and I will give the definition of a trigger in case if you are not aware of or unsure of what a trigger is in the mental health aspect as well. A trigger is, in the context of mental health, a trigger is an event, situation, or stimulus that can evoke a strong emotional or behavioral response, often related to past trauma or experiences, potentially leading to distress or a relapse of symptoms. So that's a little bit of a longer definition of a trigger. So I'm going to be talking about unwanted touching, unconsented touching, crossing boundaries. So if that could potentially be a trigger to you, and also victim blaming, I'm going to be talking about that as well. And I will also give the definition of that in case if you are unaware of what victim blaming may be, in case if maybe you've been victim blamed, or maybe you've unintentionally victim blamed somebody else. So I just want to share that now. I understand if you feel like that this video may be too much for you, or you don't want to be triggered, or if you get, too far into it and you're like, I can't, finish it. I totally understand. I respect and honor you. But if you have made it to where you don't think you're going to be able to watch the video, I want to say this to you right now. If you have had something happen to you where you did not consent, it is not your fault. Let me say that again. It is not your fault for the response of somebody else's actions and behaviors of how they treated you or what they did to you. It is not your fault. And I will also link some resources and help down below in the description box. So if you think you may need some extra help, support, don't know where to go, I will also put those down below as well. So to get into the video after that, I just want to also say that I am not a licensed mental health professional. I don't have like a degree in anything like mental health related. I do have a lot of life experience, and I do have a lot of amazing people in my life who has come along beside me to help me through things in my life. So I just want to also throw that out there as well. And if you do see me looking down, as I did when I read the definition of trigger, I do have, some definitions here and some notes that I want to present well, and I want to also read right and explain right. So that if you see me looking down ahead, I just want you all to be aware of that as well. So when I did try to launch the Beauty for Ashes series back in the fall of 2023, yeah, that was right, I did have a 2-part video that was Consent is Normal, and I obviously have taken them down because I don't believe that this will be a 2-part video. I kind of want to make it short and sweet, but long enough to be able to talk to you all, and just in hopes that this can help at least one person. If it helps one soul out there, it's totally worth it to me. And this video actually can kind of kick off of why I had to step away from YouTube for a while and just work on some things. And so I guess what can start my journey of what I've been on the last year and a half, or 2.5 years, it just does not seem like it's been that long. This is where I'm going to be sharing some of my stories. So again, just trigger warning. I was at a church, and I just want to share before I get into this story that this is not to blame anyone for sympathy, for like a victim mentality, to cause issues or anything like that. That is not my heart intention at all. This is just real life stuff that has happened in my life, part of my story, part of my journey. And so much have I felt alone, and like, has anybody else ever been through this? Has anybody else experienced this? Am I the only one out here going crazy? And I know I can't be, and I know I'm not the only one that has ever experienced or felt that in my life. And so many times that people have, been turned off of church or been turned off of this, that, and something else because of situations like this, like they feel so alone or no one would understand. But I'm going to tell you, I may not be able to tell you how you feel, because even if we go through similar things or the same thing, we're going to feel things differently. But I can tell you I understand. And as my journey has gone along and as I keep going on my journey, I understand why people do the things they do, that could be another video for another day. Kind of started my journey, like I said a little bit earlier, of having to leave YouTube for a break is I was at a church, and I had been going to this church for a little bit, and it started out that I started coming to this place of worship church because of there was a women's support group, and that was meeting once a week that I was going to, and I didn't really share a whole lot in that group. It was kind of, I listened a lot, maybe did have some feedback or share a little bit here and there. But kind of fast forward after a while of doing that group, I started going to the church, and I really loved it there. I was connecting with people in a real way. People who had really been through it, and we were sharing each other's stories. I did get a lot of healing at this church. I met a lot of great people that I still stay in contact with to this day. I would just like to say an encouraging word that a pastor friend of mine said: in the kingdom of God, God's economy, nothing is wasted. So I tell myself that a lot. I remember it a lot because it's so true. Nothing is wasted. And so there was one Sunday morning, it was in January, and I remember this time frame like it was literally yesterday. And I would say the dates, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to potentially stir up anything. There was a Sunday morning I was there, and I don't know how much it is public. It's not that big of a deal, but I do have a tattoo right here on the back of my neck, top of my back, bottom of my neck area. And when I wear t-shirts or something, it is visible. It's a cross, and on the stick it has, or the stem, it has Ephesians 2:10. So I was at this, church, and this guy that was going there, I had hugged this person, because I felt safe with the person at the time. The person was, I guess, a friend. I talked to the person, and was standing in front of this person, and I guess my t-shirt had like moved a certain way, and this person had said, "Oh, you've got a tattoo," and proceeded to like kind of pull on my shirt and try to look kind of down my shirt at my tattoo. And in that moment, I felt like the lights had just went off. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just how it felt in that moment. And my whole body just kind of froze, and it was just like the lights went off. And I didn't know then, but it was a trigger. The version of a trigger is often used to mean something that brings on or worsens symptoms, and something that like can also be a trigger that you may hear about. Some people can't do fireworks, certain sounds, music, that sort of thing. So when this person had, pulled my shirt and tried to, look down my shirt and at my tattoo, and like I, experienced this trigger, and I felt like my whole body just turned off. And what I didn't realize that I also had done in that moment was disassociate. And the definition of disassociate is a disconnection or detachment from one's thoughts, feelings, memories, or sense of identity, often as a response to trauma or overwhelming stress. And it kind of like can go into like protecting your brain. And what I do remember is that the service was just kind of a blur at the moment that I can think of. So the next night we would have had our, women's support group that we were going to. And I remember there was somebody else sharing that night, and I really want to tread lightly here. But I went to the leader in another part of the church away from the group, and I remember approaching this person, and I said to them, I wanted to explain to them what had happened yesterday with this person. And I even told the person, I was like, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not looking to get anybody trouble. I'm not looking for anything like cause problems. I just want to share this with somebody so I can get it off my chest, move on, try to heal, get over it, whatever. And of course, I didn't know then what I know now, what was about to happen and going on. I told her like what had happened, and I told her I just kind of came out with, I should have not hugged him. I should have not been friendly with him this whole time, blah, 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 blah. And something she responded with in that moment, yeah, your personality can get you in trouble with that sort of thing. And you've got to really be careful how you're acting, because that can get you in trouble. And at that moment, it felt like another part of me just like shut down almost. It felt like another part of me shut down in that moment. And I just felt so discouraged. I blame myself in that moment. This is my fault. I should have not. And what I did not realize that this woman had done and did to me was victim blaming. The definition of victim blaming is an act of holding a victim responsible for the harm they experienced, rather than the perpetrator, by suggesting they somehow provoked the abuse or could have prevented it. Of course, you shouldn't have, your personality, or you shouldn't have. What were you wearing? What were you doing? And I'm going to tell you, that night, this will be another video for another day, was probably one of the worst nights of my life. That was only the beginning of what happened that night. And I'm going to tell you right now, when I say that I thought I was going to die, like that was a time that I really didn't think I was going to make it. And I'm not here to sound religious or push anything onto anyone, but I'm going to tell you that, like, I know that God is real. And I know if it was not for God, I would not be here today, because there's some things I'm just not ready to talk about on the internet. And plus that I probably won't ever be able to talk about on the internet with this situation, just because of the, like, I guess, severity of it. But, I'm going to tell you, like, if you have ever been touched in an unwanted way, I don't care what it was. And we need to stop comparing people's trauma, past experiences, situations to one another. It can be so easy to say, well, they just pulled your shirt and tried to look down your shirt and looked at your tattoo, whereas this person was maybe sexually assaulted. We need to stop comparing people's trauma, because everybody's traumatic experiences, situations, things, places, whatever, they're all valid and they're all important. And they all need to be talked about and discussed, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you do not deal with the trauma, a trigger, a past situation, it is going to deal with you later at some point. It may be like the next day, maybe 2 weeks or 5 years. It will deal with you if you do not deal with it. I'm just telling you from experience and people around me in my life, and you've seen on the internet. And I cannot stress this enough to you, how it is not your fault. It is not your fault if somebody touches you in an unwanted way, in an unconsented way. And like, I have learned so much over the last few years, and I know TikTok has been on the line in the United States, and I believe it was TikTok that I did see this. And there is a quote that says, "Be teachable, you are not always right." And that is powerful. We need to keep that in mind, but that's another topic for another day. But I remember, like, I don't have kids, and I have many friends who have kids. My sister and I are 10 years apart, so, I got to, hold her when she was a baby, help out when she was younger. All that to say is, I'm not trying to sound like I'm blaming anybody's parental style or parenting style or point fingers at nobody, but this was just something that I seen that I thought was so important, that I've not only taken into my life, but something that I will teach my kids and my future kids, and that will teach my kids one day. And I keep in mind for myself as well, with kids as well, with what I'm getting ready to say, is how I know personally, I have experienced it in my life on a personal level, and also have noticed it with kids. Like, maybe their parent or guardian will say, to Sally over here, go give your Uncle Steve a hug, or tell their son, Joe, hey, go give your Aunt Katie a hug, or, vice versa, or not asking them, hey, do you want to give so-and-so a hug, or do you want to give this person, a high five, And I've even taken that into consideration, like, when I see, my friends' kids, say, example, Sally, say, hey, can I have a hug? And if they say no, or they just shake their head, or they kind of hide, and say, that's okay. You don't have to give me a hug, or you don't have to give me a high five. Or, sometimes I've asked, well, can I have a high five? And, they'll be like that, or they're still not, and being like, that's okay. You don't have to do anything that you do not want to do. And I think that's so important, because sometimes it's like a thought, when we get taught things as kids, to do, right from wrong, or how to do things and what not to do, and the whole 9 yards of that. But sometimes I wonder, if only we were kind of taught at a younger age, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. Instead of telling somebody to go, their child or their niece or nephew or whatever, to go give somebody a hug, instead of telling them, of asking them, do you want to give them a hug or whatever. And I think that's so important that we teach kids, our younger ones especially, like, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, some sort of way, whatever. And I think it's just so important, and I think that society has been so behind in that, especially within the body of Christ. And something else that I want to share is, I had heard the pastor of the same church had said, and that what I'm getting ready to say is, I want to tread lightly with this, because this can turn into another video for another day, a different topic, and I think I will go there on this at some point. But this pastor had, I kind of wonder if, looking back, did he potentially set the tone of this group and not even realize it? Or maybe he did or didn't care. I don't know. I'm not him. I'm not his heart, and I'm not God. But he had said, women who are in domestic violence situation, domestic violence can be mental, emotional, spiritual, sexual. It can look like a lot of different things. Not all wounds are visible, not all scars are visible. But he had said, women who keep going back to their abuser, and he said women, but I think it can be men too as well. But he said, women who keep going back to their abuser is because they enjoy it, they like it. And if you have ever been told that, that is so far from the truth. It's so ignorant. It's so damaging. And that is not who Jesus is. That is not who God is. I'm telling you right now, that is so wrong and so damaging. And I'm sorry if you were sitting there that Sunday when he said that. And if you had heard it from somebody else, or maybe you heard it from the internet, I don't know, but it's not right. And that if you are in a situation where you have went back to somebody that's abusing you, like I said, I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a licensed technician or anything, but there is things called trauma bond. I don't have the definition of that with me, but if you do look it up, do trauma bond mental health, and I'm sure you probably can relate to that maybe. But that is so far from the truth. And if you go back to somebody who maybe had sexually harassed you, or maybe did something to you that you did not consent to or didn't want, that does not mean you enjoyed it as well. Like this pastor had said, it's not right, and it's just it's not your fault. And I cannot stress to you that enough. I know everybody doesn't have the resources to be able to go to therapy, or to be able to get into counseling or groups or whatever, because maybe they're not available in your area. Maybe you can't afford it. Maybe your insurance won't cover it, because in America, that is a big issue that we have. I see you. And most importantly, God sees you, and it is not your fault. If you only take this away from the video today, it is not your fault. You did nothing wrong for somebody to act the way they did for whatever reason. It's okay to have healthy boundaries. It is okay to say no, and don't feel bad for saying no. No means no. No is a complete sentence, and leave it at that. So I just want to say thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart for watching today's video, listening to today's video. If this video helped you in some way, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I upload as of right now the first and third Wednesday of the month, unless noted or posted otherwise. I will link all my social medias down below in the description box, as well as some helpful resources for you if you are needing some help, support, assistance. Thank you all again from the bottom of my heart for being here. I love y'all so much. I will see you next month, the first Wednesday of May, with my next new video. Until then, Be safe, be well, be here tomorrow. Love y'all. Bye.